Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Them Australians, man, well representing themselves when it comes to boxing. I think the Australians are going to keep representing themselves well and probably go on to take over, man. Now, Tim Tszyu. Everyone knows who Tim Tszyu is. But we also know Tim Tszyu's had some setbacks, but he's bounced back with his new trainer, Pedro Diaz. And Tim Tszyu is going to be back in the ring. Matter of fact, let me just show you. I have to make an adjustment here. He is returning against Dennis Nerja in April. Now, let me just tell you something here about old Tim Tszyu. 26 wins, 18 KOs. You know, he will fight you. You know what I'm saying? He has 3 losses, 2 losses by knockout. Now, what's really impressive when it comes to Tim Tszyu is if he gets past this guy right here, Dennis Nerja, who's originally from Albania and resides in Italy. If Tim Tszyu can get past him, and Tim Tszyu is back in the mix and going to be fighting what's rumored later this year, Errol Spence Jr. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves because he's still got to defeat this guy, Dennis Nerja. But what I'll say is when Tim Tszyu steps into that ring, there's always a sense that something violent and calculated is about to happen. Whether it's against Tim Tszyu or against somebody else, you know it's going to be a fight. Now, against this guy, Dennis, right? I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Tszyu once again showing us why he's one of the most dangerous pressure fighters in the sport today. He is looking to come in there, man, and bring the business to Nerja. Let me look at something here. Yeah, on April 5th. You know what? I'm going to tell you this right here. I think they selected Nerja because, let's look at something. With Nerja's record, he has 20 wins, 9 knockouts. So he's not a vicious KO puncher, but basically every other fighter he knocked out. But he's not a guy who has like 17 knockouts or anything. So he's not. And then you got to look at his quality of opposition. The record looks good, undefeated fighter, but we can see beyond the smoke and mirrors as far as what they're doing with Tim Tszyu. Because why would they put him in a high-risk fight, knowing you have the Errol Spence fight looming? So this right here is the perfect candidate for an Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi ass whipping. Because it looks good on paper, it's a good sell, and beating someone like this is a good lead into the Errol Spence fight. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, I don't think Tim Tszyu is going to have too much of an issue. We know he can cut the ring off. We know he can bring the pressure, but we're also seeing him show patience, box, and just be a more well-rounded fighter, something that he needed to work on. And since he's hooked up with Pedro Diaz, he showed that in his last fight, and I think he's only going to get better. But what I want to see with Tim Tszyu fighting this guy is the body work. You know what I'm saying? We know Tim Tszyu has a reputation for punishing opponents downstairs, and that investment pays dividends as the fights progress. So I think if he gets in there, man, and he starts to really let his hands go, you could see this his opponent gradually slow, that movement becoming labored, and Tim Tszyu, who is a more calm fighter now, you can see that pressure mounting and Tim Tszyu go for the kill. That's one thing for sure, man. Tim Tszyu has that killer instinct. You know, you could see that even in his last fight, he's trying to contain himself, trying to stick to the game plan. But what's in him is in him. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As long as he continues to evolve into a complete fighter, an intelligent pressure fighter, that's a dangerous development for anyone in the division. Even if he gets past this guy, Nerja, and he goes on to fight Errol Spence, that is a dangerous development for Errol Spence and anyone else in the division. Now, you got another Australian fighter. Some people don't know who he is. He goes by the name of Teremoana. And let me tell you something. There's something special about this guy. Still a bit early in his career. But when you look at this record of 9 wins, 9 KOs, of course they're kind of feeding him tomato cans, letting him get his experience as a professional fighter. But still, 100% KO ratio looks good on paper. Standing 6'6", some say 6'7". Big boy, 28 years old. Said he has like an 81-inch reach. I couldn't confirm that. But the bottom line is he's a big boy. Now, when you look at his record, we just look at some of the names, okay? You're probably not going to recognize these names, right? Now, he is fighting Curtis Harper this Sunday. Curtis Harper has 19 wins, 12 losses. So let's not take it to the stupid and act like he's in here beating the elite. But he's doing what he's supposed to do with the quality of competition being put in front of him. Harper is 19-12. I expect a first-round KO. German Montez is 9-6. Aline Whitfield is 9-0. James Singh was 12-5. Osa Tobo was 11-1. Vladimir Katsuk 5-1. Benson Parker 0-1. Hunter Sam was 11-16 in his debut. So again, Teremoana, he's an Olympian. He's got power, but right now they're just building up his record and letting him get his experience. He was talking about fighting Usyk and all this. I like to hear Teremoana speak with confidence. But to that I say in the most respectful way, to Teremoana, you got a rapper named 2 Chainz. We're going to call him 2 names. Let's not take it to the stupid, man, But it's cool to call out the guys like a guy like Usyk. There were even talks about Teremoana fighting Moses Atama. All I'll say is this. I understand that heavyweight division is always looking for new blood. And Teremoana Jr. is looking like a problem. But we just don't know what's going to happen, down the line. In the heavyweight division, one punch changes everything. But Teremoana has showcased, things that have convinced us that he's not just exciting, but he has raw power combined with supreme athleticism for someone of his size and stature. So any fight he gets in, for the most part, there's going to be a noticeable physical difference. Probably just going to look naturally bigger, stronger, and he's going to fight like that. And the fight's going to play out the way his fights have been playing out, probably with him getting knockouts. But I just want to see what happens when he gets in there with the elite guys and Teremoana feels like he sees an opening. If he commits and gets countered, then what happens to his mindset? Because the mindset he has now is he sees an opening, he commits, he goes for it. That leads to knockouts. But when you see an opening, go for it, and you get countered, all of a sudden that leads to hesitation and reluctance. So again, with Teremoana and these fights he's been taking, it's just all about growth. You know what I'm saying? We know his offense is dangerous. He's a big, strong guy, man. But at the same time, there are moments where his defense can be tightened up, and I think that's what they're doing is really helping him become more comfortable as a pro, get the big knockouts, but work on the things that he does poorly. And that defense is something, Teremoana, you got to understand that chin is right there perched high up in the air. And it's a good target. It's a target for somebody who has decent reach, speed, and power, and they can get to him if, in fact, his defense isn't on point. And I think it would happen in the exchanges or putting him on the back foot. And I'm telling you, at the highest level, those small gaps can be exploited. So you got to be very, very careful. But at the end of the day, his upside is undeniable. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the heavyweight division. Is the highlight division when it comes to boxing. And the heavyweight division boxing, heavyweight boxing thrives on fighters who can end the fight at any moment. And Teremoana has shown that he has that ability. But again, the right development, matchmaking, he's already becoming a name in Australia. But he could become a major name, not just in Australia, but globally. Just like Aussie, oys. Jai Opetaia. Let me tell you something. He got in there against Glanton. Fight went just like I thought it would. Jai wasn't going to come in there and take it to the stupid and look for a massive crash where he's going to box smart, stay on the outside, land shots when he had the opportunity, not necessarily get anxious and try to go for a knockout because he knew Glanton was dangerous and strong. So Jai just did what he normally does. Just continue to establish himself as one of the most dominant forces in the cruiserweight division. And most of us feel he is the most dominating force. And it's just a matter of time before he becomes undisputed. But all I'll say about Jai is he's operated at a very high level, man. Speed, power, technical discipline makes him incredibly difficult to deal with. And him winning fights, it's not that he's just winning fights. Like, he's no kidding controlling the fights. You know what I'm saying? So what's next? I think the obvious path is unification. I know 100% David Benavidez will fight him. As far as Zurdo, I think he may put duck sauce on the fried rice. I was on a business trip to Australia, and I was eating, like sandwiches and stuff, but I didn't really get out there to eat any of the local cuisine because I like to make jokes about putting duck sauce on the fried rice. So I was going to say put duck sauce on something, but I don't remember any of those. I didn't eat any of the local cuisine. I was just eating like sandwiches and stuff. This is a long time ago back there working out, but it has nothing to do with the conversation. But for Zurdo Ramirez, if he beats David Benavidez, which I doubt he does, but if he does, we're going to see where his heart's at. Because I'll tell you what, man, Opetaia, he's with Zuffa now. I don't know if he's going to be able to secure fights against other champions. I don't know what the IBF is doing. I don't know what's happening, man. It's all kind of crap going on with the politics of boxing, sanctioning bodies, Zuffa. But what I will tell you is, if he wants to cement his legacy and elevate his global profile significantly, he took the step in the right direction signing with Zuffa. But he's got to become the undisputed king of the cruiserweight division. And I do believe, at the end of the day, they say skills pay the bills, money makes things move. And with Turki Al-Sheikh backing him, I believe 100% that the undisputed showdown will eventually happen. And then after that, man, who knows? He probably goes up to heavyweight. That's a long-term decision. But, when you have an elite cruiserweight, they can make that jump successfully. So if Opetaia continues to dominate at cruiserweight, the temptation to test himself against bigger opponents, it only grows. And I think the demand from fans will grow too. Because they're going to feel like, there's no one who can beat him. Let him go up to heavyweight and try to do what Holyfield did, try to do what David Haye did, try to do what Usyk is doing. But one thing's for sure, Opetaia, he's far from a contender. And he's a centerpiece of Australian boxing's future. And he probably will go on to become undisputed at cruiserweight. So at the end of the day, there's so many Australian fighters, male and female, and they're starting to get their shine. But these three right here, that's what the video's about. But everyone knows Tim Tszyu, he got a brother Nikita. Jai Opetaia just got busy, and Teremoana Jnr. is someone who they're pushing hard. But when you just look at these guys, it's clear that something special is happening out there in Australia, man. Down under is no longer just producing good fighters. Or have people talking about the goddamn kangaroo and Crocodile Dundee and that boomerang that was knocking people out. Nah, it's producing world-level threats across multiple divisions. And there's a growing confidence, a sense of identity, and willingness to take on challenges. And that combination is what creates boxing eras, not just individual stars. I'll say this before I conclude this video, man. If this momentum continues, the rest of the world may soon have no choice but to acknowledge what Australian fans are already seeing. That this is the rise of a boxing nation. So put some respect on them Australians. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Y'all keep cool, I'm in the breeze.